The Democratic Alliance is disputing claims its senior leaders are at loggerheads over comments about white privilege made by party leader Mmusi Maimane. Speaking at a Freedom Day rally in Soshanguve in Pretoria, Maimane apparently said white privilege and black poverty must be addressed. I'm joined on the line now by DA Deputy Federal Chairperson Natasha Mazzone. Natasha, thank you so much for giving us of your time this Sunday. Now, there's talk here in various reports that caucus meeting a few days ago of the DA, that some sources, they're saying that your leader, Mmusi Maimane, was attacked by others on the caucus for those comments that he made in public. Can you confirm that this issue was discussed at that meeting?
Marcel, thank you so much for letting me clear this issue up. Firstly, I mean, DA caucus meetings are confidential, so no one should be talking out of them because we use them as a platform to debate issues that need to be debated, and we do so in a very free manner. What I can, however, confirm is that there was absolutely no attack on our leader whatsoever. In fact, I haven't had a more constructive and a more productive debate in a caucus for a very long time. We're a political party, and as such, we have to discuss things of a political nature. And it was simply a discussion about what had happened in Soshanguve and media reports that had come out after it, and exactly how we as South Africans need to address these issues that so fundamentally affect so many South Africans and, in actual fact, affect all South Africans. And if I may, I mean, I use myself as the perfect example. I consider myself as a product of 100% white privilege. I grew up in a most privileged environment with a most privileged family. But I'm terribly proud to say my father arrived in this country with absolutely nothing. And he by no means could ever have been considered to have been privileged. I, as his daughter, though, was highly privileged. And it was that kind of debate that we had in the meeting, which I think is highly productive. And I think the important thing to realize is South Africans must have these kinds of discussions. It's so important that we discuss these things because otherwise things start to fester, people miscommunicate with each other, and we come from such diverse backgrounds that we need to tell each other one another's stories so that we know where we're all coming from and what we've all been through.
I suppose what many people raise their eyebrows about is that, in as much as you're saying that the discussion was held in a non-heated manner and that it was openly discussed and debated amongst colleagues within the DA, the eyebrows were raised by the fact that there was still the need to discuss these issues, which many South Africans would say is sacrosanct and is accepted as issues that need to be addressed.
Marcel, you see, you make an incredibly good point. There are items that are sacrosanct. But here's the thing. As we develop as a country and as politics develop, and every day we have new developments in our country and new things are said, it becomes important to make sure that you speak about issues of the day, that you speak about things that have been said in the media, you speak about things that are worrying certain South Africans. And there have been comments in the media lately, and we've seen a massive increase in racial tensions in our country, which is terribly unfortunate. So you actually have an obligation as a political party to discuss issues that are affecting South Africans. But above all, we have to path a way forward as a political party to make sure that we fight every day not to pander to racist rhetoric, not to pander to people who troll us on social media and try to create this environment of a divide between us, and how we work as a political party to make sure that we go ever forward united as a country and that we don't allow racist rhetoric to divide us.
And now just back to the meeting, and obviously the various sources quoted within it. I've got the story from the City Press in front of me, and they did get comment from Member of Parliament Galip Kachalia, who was apparently in that meeting. And he does say in the story that he wanted to state on the record that his comments related to Maimane's juxtaposition of white privilege and black poverty. He said in the story, it goes further, that the subject is complex and requires ongoing engagement. Was there an issue among some of your members about the use of those two phrases in one sentence, for want of a better way of putting it?
Like I said, I don't feel comfortable talking out of my caucus, but Khaleb did make the comments to the City Press, and therefore it is in the public domain. Certainly Khaleb did raise that concern, and I think Khaleb is right. There's nothing wrong with continuous and ongoing debate on these very important issues. The fact of the matter is we need as South Africans to start feeling comfortable with discussing issues that maybe in the past we felt uncomfortable about discussing. And this is the thing, if we are going to go forward as a united South Africa, we must use platforms that are available to us to discuss issues that maybe some groupings feel are uncomfortable, and we have to make sure that we understand fully where each one of us is coming and our backgrounds, especially people in this country that were deeply hurt in the past. I consider myself a relatively young South African. It's my obligation to make sure that those who suffered immensely under apartheid, that I make sure that their past is honoured. And then as young South Africans, we take from that and make sure that we never repeat anything that happened in the past, and that we honour those who fought for the freedoms that we have today.
Now, the issue around diversity obviously got a lot of talking time in the lead up to your last elective conference that you have, and there were ongoing reports, and still is, that some within your party were a little bit uncomfortable with Mmusi Maimane's continued talk about the need for more diversity and transformation within the party, with particular reference to the candidates and the lists of nominations that the party puts forward, for want of a better phrase, who sits on the benches for the DA as it continues to strive to get more votes. Is that still a bone of contention? Are some people still uncomfortable? Perhaps those in the DA from the more conservative quarters. Is that still a bone of contention within your party?
I don't think it's a bone of contention, and I don't think it was ever a bone of contention. And I think that when you saw the Democratic Alliance passing the diversity clause at our Congress, it actually showed how united as a party we are regarding the diversity. What we do need to discuss as a party is exactly what we mean by diversity, because diversity means a variation of things. It's not just a question of race. It's not just a question of gender. It's a question of your cultural background. It's a question of age. It's a question of your geographical spreading across the country. So I think that it's a misnomer to say that it's a bone of contention. It certainly isn't a bone of contention, but it will always be an ongoing discussion, because we always aim to be a completely diverse party, and a party who united takes South Africa first.
And just before you go, does that then mean that there is no fear of losing the so-called core voter for the Democratic Alliance as it pushes forward to be more progressive and to gain more votes within the South African context?
I certainly don't think it means that the Democratic Alliance will lose any voters from any race groupings. I think that South Africans are alive and well to the fact that race does play a card in our South African politics. It plays a massive part in all of our lives because of the past that we've had. And I think that as we move forward, what we need to do is we need to make sure that South Africans feel more engaged in their politics, that they feel more free to discuss these items that might have been more difficult to discuss in the past, but most importantly, to discuss with politicians who represent them what their feelings are and what their experiences on the ground are.
Oh, we'll leave it there for now. Unfortunately, we've lost that line to DA Deputy Federal Chairperson Natasha Mazzone, but I believe we did get the gist of our answers to our questions.